Okay, this is it. This is our very last episode of the Meditate With Me series, season 1. It's our grand finale. So welcome back and congratulations for joining us along the way until the very end. Let's finish strong, okay? So before we start, let's pre-game first because that always works really well. And I highly recommend this when you start your own meditation at home. When you're not following along, it's always a good idea to not rush into your meditation, to really just focus your attention back inwards and maybe even do a gentle scan or whatever to pre-game, and have that usually gives you a much better meditation experience. It certainly helps me. That's why I always like to do this. Then it gives me a very nice space to share what I want to share. Okay, just take a deep breath in. Check in with yourself. There's no rush in anything. You are here and there's nothing to do and nowhere to go for the next 10 or 20 minutes or so for today's meditation. The last meditation of season 1, which is a special one. You'll see. Thank yourself for the great intention you have to show up today. And stick to the end for the entire month. 3 times a week. That's great that you're doing this. Honestly, I can just be here like this. But since this is the last one and I don't know when season 2 will be on, I do plan to talk more. So this one, I will talk a lot to share more about my journey and why I do what I do after today's special meditation. And yeah, as for the reasons I mentioned in the last episode, like getting to know each other, it's kind of like, you're not sure if you want to follow this channel or not. Just like when you go to a party, you don't want to just randomly talk to a stranger. You may not enjoy the conversation, right? I'm someone who never really likes small talks. I like just what's the meaning of your life type of conversation, but not that far. It's just I like deeper connection. And yeah, that's why I don't like going to parties. But anyway, imagine it's kind of like going to a party. You don't want to just go to a stranger and randomly start talking. This is the same. So I'm sharing more about my journey, which is to give you a context of why I do what I do and what type of teaching I'm doing that helped me. If your background is similar, because humans are really not that unique, it's likely to be very helpful for you. But if it's not, there's endless YouTube channels out there. I'm sure you can find one that works for you. So yeah, I'm just sharing myself out there to attract whoever is attracted to the information and can resonate with this. That's also why, for those of you who are following, we have a Happiness Buffet podcast. That is also why in the podcast, I like to ask our guests about their personal journey. I don't want, okay, sometimes this guest is super famous or have a PhD in this and that, and then people just automatically want to listen to what they say. Of course, there's value to that and to the credibility. But if you don't know their background stories, you don't know what the conditions gave rise to why they do what they do and why they're teaching in certain ways. Usually it's motivated by what helps them, and they just, wow, they see this works so well for them, they want to share it to others, right? But we are also unique. Sometimes what works for one other person may not work for you. That's why I always like to ask those personal questions for our guests, like no matter how famous they are, but see their experience and find whether you're relatable to them, whether you resonate or not, and then see whether their teachings apply to you and really see it for yourself. Just like a scientist observe your life experiment. It's really, really fun. But today I want to share about myself because I never got to ask myself in the podcast. I always ask others, right? So we'll leave that to the end. For today's meditation, it's very, very special. I want to introduce you to this idea of active meditation, because people may think meditation is just a sit still and whatever. We have tried so many, which is mostly sitting meditation. But meditation is life. As I emphasize so many times, I want to make it more concrete. First of all, there's different postures of meditation. You can do standing meditation and walking meditation, laying down meditation, which is not always recommended depending on how you feel, because you can just fall asleep, right? Oh, but you can even meditate in your dream if you do lucid dreaming, which is something I'm practicing. Anyway, that's a story for another time if people are interested. So there's all different postures, right? Literally, eventually, at every single moment, you can just be mindful and aware, and on whatever you do, whatever thinking you're doing, and whatever action you're doing, you can just be always meditating. Which I will make another video about 3 levels of understanding of mindfulness and meditation. It goes so much deeper than that. But for now, just know you don't always have to be in sitting meditation, and you can be active when you meditate. Not just there are different postures, but you can do it when you're even washing your dishes. Just pay attention to how your mind moves. And speaking of this, I recently came across app called Healthy Mind from University of Wisconsin-Madison, yes. And I believe it was a Dr. Cortland Dahl. Yep, that's it. I'll drop a link. So in that meditation, I was learning how they teach meditation there. And I like how in the beginning, they said a lot of things up front, which really clarified a lot of things, which I think is good. And I also like how you can pick for today's daily meditation. Do you want to do active meditation, or do you want to do this traditional sitting meditation? So every time you can even pick the active one to do the guided meditation while you're, let's say, moving. But it should be light stuff, like washing dishes, not very engaged, like, I don't know, when you're working or something, right? So, because in that case, you cannot hear the guided meditation anymore. And in psychology, we all know that the human mind is not designed to multitask, actually. Just like a computer. Sorry, I'm such a nerd. In computer, it looks like there's parallel processing going on, that it can multitask. But deep down, when you only have one CPU, it's not multitask at all. It's just how do I call it for non-computer people? It's just the process that managing different tasks are done so quick, the switch of the context and everything so quick, like that gives you the illusion that it's multitasking. So same for human mind. Anyhow, it's just we're not designed to multitask. So if you're interested, you can check out that app. It supports active meditation if you want. All right. So for today's meditation, we are actually going to give you a small sampler of active meditation. We're not even going to close our eyes. And all you do is just pay attention to how your mind moves when certain things happen. Literally, you can even start now. But I want to give you an ultimate challenge for those of you who are willing. I will give you one instruction for today's guided active meditation. Let's just center us first. to prepare for this moment. My husband says sometimes I'm so dramatic. I love being dramatic. So, are you ready? Take a deep breath in. And out. So for today's meditation, we are going to keep our eyes open, first of all, and you can move however you want. I will give you instruction now, just one thing to keep in mind. But I want you to really pay attention to your mind and how you react to the instruction. Just watch your mind with no judgment. Just let go of everything and observe. Okay, ready? So the instruction is, we're gonna practice just being. It's literally doing nothing with our eyes open, which is more of a challenge because when you have more sensory input, it can trigger so much thought about what you need to do. And this meditation is, some people call it unstructured time. It's really a precious practice that we don't get to experience in our daily lives much because human mind is very, very goal-oriented. Even meditation, why do you meditate? Even for meditation, you have a goal in mind. Literally everything, every day, we are always very goal-oriented to be driven by doing stuff, right? So this is to counterbalance that, to basically try to let go of the habitual tendencies that the human mind always have and bring it to a balance and practice just being content with nothing for no reason. Like you don't have a goal. No, literally this instruction is there's no instruction. And see how you react to that. And it's already started. Whether you know it or not, and I'm here with you, and I will maybe talk, maybe not, just as I don't know, as an opportunity for you. Because when I talk, you can also observe how your mind reacts to that, and when I stop talking, you can also observe how your mind's attention moves from me no talking to talking or talking to no talking, and I may do other things too. So I'm not gonna tell you, just to see how you react to everything, really be in this pure awareness, literally just being with nothing, no goal in mind. Maybe you notice you have a goal. Let that go. For the next 10 minutes or 20 minutes or so, you are just you. Find out who you are maybe in this state when you don't have a goal. Find out what it is. That when you don't have a goal, when you're simply being, what is that? But if you have that question, you can notice, that's my goal. My goal is to find out this, right? It's just so many layers. And then you let it go and see how you feel. Whenever you notice, automatically you have a goal, ignore it. You have no goal. Ready, set, go. Forget everything. Forget all instructions. Forget all meditation instructions even. Let go of layers of layers. It's automatic. Even let go of letting go. Forget about letting go. You have no goal. You may already feel resistant. This is a very challenging, quote-unquote, meditation. I know it. But just be and see. You may naturally want to smile. That's okay. But we are not smiling for the sake of anything. Not even soften our mind. No goal. Nothing. You may want to close your eyes because that's more comfortable and you're more familiar with that. You want to go back to meditating because you know how to do that, and this is new. See how your mind reacts to that. But we're not closing our eyes because this is how we live our life. Life is a more challenging version of meditation. I do agree with that. But I think you guys are ready for this challenge. That's why we have this special finale. By the way, you don't have to look at me. You can look at anywhere. That's even more real. That's what you do in real life, right? But can you look at different places without a goal at all? like really see the reality without any goal in mind. We are not looking for anything. We are not, some of you might know some meditation about noting the colors. No, do not note any colors. You don't have any goal. You can even walk around because you don't even have to listen to me. You have no goal. Everything goes. You don't even have to pay attention to how your mind's attention moves, by the way. That is, make it easier to ease into it, because the mind always needs some instructions for it to do something. Yeah, but the ultimate instruction is really nothing. No goal, no instructions. If it's too difficult, that's why I gave you this, whatever, paying attention, which is always a good thing to do anyway. It does no harm to others or yourself, and it's beneficial to yourself and others, which is actually a simple rule of thumb for everything. When you're unsure about a thought or an action, the simple rule of thumb is, does it benefit myself and others? If not, maybe does it benefit myself or does it benefit others? And if not, at least make sure it doesn't harm myself or harm others. That's the basic rule of thumb for everything. Just see, does it harm myself and others? If not, you're in a very safe place to conduct whatever action or thought. You don't even have a goal to relax or feel gratitude. Although it may arise naturally, just let it be. You don't need to feel in a certain way. Nothing. There's no rules. You don't even need to pay attention to your sensory input. Eye, nose, ear, touch, feeling, whatever it is, you don't even need to pay attention. Although you might notice your senses are sharper. But that was not your goal, just a side benefit. You may hear the sound of the singing bowl and think the meditation is over, but it's never over. See how your habitual tendency and memory tells you a singing bowl's sound might mean a meditation is done, but that is just your memory based on what you learned in the past. It's a concept. And why do you think a singing bowl's sound is good compared to quote-unquote noise? What is a noise? Why do you like this, not that? Why do you dislike this, not that? Is that really you who like this or that? What is the fundamental difference between the sound of a singing bowl versus the sound of, say, a train that may actually pass by and you can hear it too? Or like a plane, or I don't know, construction, which, by the way, one of my meditation teachers, Bhante Vallamaramsi, mentioned a story when he was on a retreat, I believe in Thailand or somewhere. In the whole monastery, there was construction going on, and they are drilling the well every day, super loud. But everybody was just meditating in that environment. So what? If how loud the noise is does not harm your ears, why certain sounds are good, certain sounds are bad? What is it? It's a concept that we learned in the past. But every moment is a fresh start. In the hearing, there's only the heard. It's just a sound. It's we that attach a meaning to it. And the meaning is not even invented by us. Growing up, maybe the society told you that, or other people told you that. Then you learned, okay, this I should like. It's a good sound, right? Just in the hearing, there's only the heard. You know what's more? In the seeing, there's only the seeing. Seeing. Somebody might know who Boo Boo is, and you will have that thought arising because you have met him before. I'm not going to tell you when, but it's a secret episode. If you follow along, you will know. And that's natural. That's a natural thought arose because you have seen this before. And that was in the memory of yours, right? But in the seeing, there's only the seeing. There's the colors and there's the form. But then we attach meaning to it and the feelings to it. And even I like it or I don't like it. If you really like it, that is the beginning of the suffering, because what if I lose it? If I really hate it, that could also be a suffering, because why is it here? You know, that's all these things we attach to just the colors and the form that can be the beginning of a suffering if you are not skillful in your mind. They can creep up when things change, such as when you lose it, right? But Boo Boo is pretty cute. And why? See, why is it so cute? See, all your past experiences that told you and taught you why this thing is cute. It's soft, it's got the bread on it, and the color is a warm color. We love bread, and it's a capybara. I know many people love capybara because they can be friends with anyone, right? Yeah, so combining many cute elements together in one thing, they did such a good job. Of course, many people will associate this with very cute. But not everyone, because we have different experiences. And some people may think this is super ugly. Like, I don't know, the eyes are so small, the mouths are too big, whatever, right? Why is the nose brown, not pink? Yeah, whatever. So I think it's cute. But I also acknowledge why I think it's cute and why this is not a personal process for me. So if in the worst case I lose it, I will be fine because I'm already mentally prepared. When I see it, in the seeing, there's only the seeing, and I know why I like it arose due to all those conditions that has nothing to do with me. That's why when I lose it, it's also not personal and I'll be fine. Welcome to another talk on impersonal nature, which is anatta. I talked about it in a previous episode, if anyone is interested. But yeah, in the seeing, there's only the seeing. I'll be quiet now, just for a few more moments for this unstructured, unguided / guided meditation / not meditation. This time it's actually the end. You never know. Bring that open-mindedness in your life. I never know. That attitude, this playful attitude, makes everything fun. And makes you prepared for any surprises and unexpected situations. Because we never know. Nothing is permanent, it's always changing. Well, that was the unstructured time meditation, I guess, our finale. I'm not even gonna say I hope you like it because probably most people don't like it. But at least I want to show it to you that it's possible. And I want you to, if you don't like it, I want you to see the dislikeness, like when you're doing this, and see the resistance and see if you can soften it more and more. And no, it's not personal at all. Everybody who's new to this, if this is your first experience of this, you would probably hate it. Like, what the heck is this? We are so not used to no goal in mind. Like, we're so goal driven in everything we do every day, right? So this is really to help you see all your habitual tendencies and your habits, and how would you feel when you really let that go to peel off layers after layers. And of course, growth is not comfortable, and I'm not here just to make you feel good. I'm sorry. But you will probably feel pretty good and better in most of the meditations we do. That is because that is the first step. So I will still try to make you feel good in of like the guided meditations and also in my teachings, because when you feel good and in a more wholesome and calm mindset is when deeper insights can arise, and that's where you learn so much about yourself and life through your intuition and your guidance, however you want to call it. Some people may feel more relatable if you call it God or higher self or consciousness or universe, unconditional love, or your true nature. Doesn't really matter, but you will see it's just a name or concept you are putting on whatever it is. But yeah, so I want to show you, but feeling good is never the ultimate goal. It's always a good intermediate goal, which is very necessary towards the end of the game. And this is an infinite game, by the way. And yeah, eventually it's not just feel good, it's you feel reality, you feel what it is, and you're unbothered by good and bad. Let's just call it stress-free fundamentally, because you don't have the concept of stress. You just cannot believe this can be stress for you, although you understand, but you're still the same person in a way, because all your memories are still there, right? So you still understand why this is a stressful situation and why people react this or that way, such as react with anxiety or react with worry or whatever face they can make, or yeah, they react with some dramatic actions, whatever it is. You understand exactly why people are reacting that way. You still understand why it's stressful, but you can have a choice on how you want to handle it. Sometimes you may even act very stressed, just believe it or not, because it shows that you care or things like that. But fundamentally, you acknowledge nothing is a big deal. You have this inner peace, like anyway, that you know it's always there. And whenever you feel frustration or whatever, and very quickly, because we're humans, right? You still feel all those emotions, like physiology stuff. It's automatically triggered through the biology. That still happens, but very quickly, like way quicker than before you practice meditation, you will realize, that is just automatic programming, and I don't have to act this way. And very quickly, you can come back to this peace that's always there. Anyway, it's just very cool. But yeah, the reason we practice no goal is because our mind is wired with always having a goal in mind. So introducing some type of not contradicting, but opposite process to question or challenge your default is very helpful to trigger transformation. And this is also why teachings are always personalized. It's not just one-size-fits-all solution, because depending on where you are, and we try to balance out. If you're super goal-oriented, which is most people, that's why I introduced this unstructured time thing, which I learned somewhere from Ryan, I think, to balance this, because I recognize we're here. So I try to introduce this so we can more to the middle way, right? And the same, maybe for some people, they're always super energetic. They cannot sit still. And then you introduce more, quietness type of meditation and then come back. And for some people who, let's say, very low in energy, maybe depressed or whatever, right? Then you can introduce more maybe like gratitude or some community-driven exercise to bring them more to here. So it's all a balance act. Oh, actually, I've been wanting to cut out one part of my podcast from Daniel Ingram, the second episode of the podcast. One part, he specifically mentioned what type of personality suits what type of meditation. He really has an ocean of knowledge about different types of practices in meditation. And after he said that, I'm wow, this is gold. We should play it in Times Square 24/7. So I've been meaning to cut that part out as a standalone video. Once I do, I will link it to this video as well. And same. So for those of you who are new here, today's meditation is done. And because this is the last episode, I will talk a lot more today. I hope you're okay with that. Just, getting to know each other to see if this channel is for you. If not, you can go somewhere else, right? Because it's just endless content, endless information these days that you can find. Anyhow, also along the same lines, it just triggered a thought in my mind about a story of Dalai Lama I want to share with you. So how Dalai Lama these days teaches a lot loving kindness, compassion, this type of things. And there's a backstory I heard from Elizabeth Gilbert. I believe she said she heard from Sharon Schultzberg, I believe, also a meditation teacher. And Sharon was actually in person when Dalai Lama first, or at least one of the first visits to the United States. He was not even famous in the West yet at that time, very long time ago. He gave a talk, whatever. And then in the end, he's like a Q&A, right? Does anyone has any questions? And one of the audience asked about this self-hatred or self-judgment, like in their mind, they don't love themselves and things like that. How do I deal with these harsh thoughts that I have for myself? You know what Dalai Lama said? It's let me take some water and I will spill the beans. Well, he didn't say anything first because he didn't understand what that means. It took him, I forgot, I think they mentioned like 15 minutes or so to even understand the concept of self-hatred. Because he just doesn't know how can this exist, right? He's so confused. How can you not love yourself? Why are you harsh on yourself? This is absurd. I've never heard before. And it's so this also shows, the habitual tendency is like maybe based on your growing up environment or whatever, that he growing up, I don't know where he grew up, maybe in Tibet or somewhere, Dalai Lama, but the environment very different, right? They don't think that way. Just the same, like I grew up in China and automatically I don't have any tattoos. And people who grew up in the US, almost everyone has a tattoo. Can you say that is your personal choice, like really your choice, just by you alone? No, environment plays a big role, right? But anyway, same. And here in the West, in the United States, apparently people can have self-hatred and self-judgment. And same in China too, just FYI. But Dalai Lama was so confused. And once he got it, okay, fine, you have these thoughts. Is that just you? Like, who else have this type of self-hatred, self-judgment thoughts in the audience? Like, so many people raised their hands. And Dalai Lama was just so shocked that this is actually a universal thing. And then since that experience, he started teaching self-compassion, loving kindness, and all these things. Because as the same reasoning, what I said about this goal-oriented mind, most people have that. That's why we did today's meditation. Same reason for Dalai Lama to teach loving kindness and compassion, because we are so here, like we are so far away, so much hatred, and even self-harm towards ourselves. And loving kindness is the fundamental, really the fundamental womb and the foundation for everything, not even just this meditation journey, but for everything. That's why his focus became that. And as we know, we still have a way to go. Just notice your thoughts, how you feel about yourself, right? That's why we keep practicing. It's a lifelong journey. But I do want to say, if your goal is deep meditation or deep insight, such as, I don't know, like becoming super, super wise and full of clarity, and if you do not practice loving kindness, you will never get there. It is that necessary to prepare this foundation. Just think about it. If you are doing something bad and you have all those self-hatred thoughts, how can you even prepare this calm womb for wisdom to be born? It's impossible. That is why we always love teaching loving kindness. You can never practice it more than enough, because even when you are already so much clarity, you could still use so much metta, the loving kindness. Metta is in Pali, METTA, in your daily life and everything. There's always stuff that you can add that in. There's always things for you to do more. So anyhow, that is why we did this, counter the habits to bring us more in the middle and more balanced. Another thing I wanted to share before I talk about my journey is I want to give you an update about the short retreat. So 2 days ago, anyway, last episode, I mentioned the experience of a short meditation retreat. I went with my husband and his non-meditator, non-spiritual. If you're interested, you can watch that previous episode. And it's so wonderful, right? And I was so happy. It's really a milestone in my life to get him to like this. And today I want to report this morning, when we were having breakfast, he just said, I think my metta is wearing off. And I was laughing so hard. I said, my prediction is it will wear off for you in a week. And now today's Friday. Our meditation retreat was last Thursday to Sunday. So it's almost a week, right? And my prediction was right. So that is so funny. The reason I want to share this is because what you can count on me in this channel is I'm just so comfortable with being honest. So honesty is what you can count on me. I don't want to just share all the good things about meditation and the meditation retreats. I just want to give you the raw and honest experience, practical experience that happens, and all the practical challenges that you might face. It's not always rainbows and unicorns, although when you are there, it is, right? So I think there's a good opportunity to talk about this. Yes, at meditation retreat, you feel everybody is so loving and kind, and you're in this bubble. And yes, it does have a long-lasting effect after the retreat. So for me, what I see is, because my retreat, this last week, the short one is my first short one. I'm always doing the 10-day one. And if you do longer, of course, the wearing off is also later. That's how I saw. So in my very first retreat, it was online one. I would say the loving kindness feeling lasted for 1 to 2 months. And but even it wears off, you know that you have a reference point when you were practicing it, and when you were continuously practicing it, you know how your life is. Like everything is like loving kindness bubble is so great. At least you have that reference point, and you know it is possible, and it is very much possible. And for people like me, at that time, my priority was my happiness. That's why after my very first retreat, I decided this is my top one priority every year. I will go every single year, and I joke about it. Now it's only half joking, actually. I tell people this is my happiness vaccine. So I go every year to get a booster because it does wear off, and I go back to get a booster to protect me for longer, for my happiness for longer, for throughout the year. Then I come back, right? So the more you go there, the longer your retreat is, or the deeper you go during the retreat, the longer the effect lasts. But it does wear off, although like smaller and smaller, and until the point it just doesn't wear off anymore. And you may not even feel any need to go to a retreat. That's why in my video about the retreat, I think it's going to be a series. I only scratched the surface of the beginning of my journey of meditation retreat, because your intention in the beginning is happiness, and it really keeps changing as more you go, and then you don't even have a goal. To be honest, you don't need to go to a retreat. You're just totally fine with whatever, right? So anyhow, I want to share that with people. And but I mean, what's there for you to lose? You go to a retreat and then it wears off, and you're just back to where you were before the retreat, and you didn't lose anything. If anything, the add-on is now you know how much happier you can be, and it is very much possible for anyone who practice, right? It's just that simple. Like you going to the gym, you're gonna be in a better shape. You stop going, you're not gonna maintain your good shape anymore. And the more you go, the more you see the benefits. It automatically triggers more motivation to keep going because of the benefits you see in your own experience. You are automatically more motivated, right? So yeah, so now my husband mentioned that this morning. I said, yeah, that is very typical. But if you want to, I can throw in some small mindfulness exercise you can do to integrate into your life, because he has a very, very busy schedule. That's why throughout this week, he didn't practice much. We only have mindful tea time together, and he's doing mindful walk to the metro, and that's it. So yeah, but he have me, so I can always make up something for him to practice if he want to maintain that longer. But anyway, yeah, daily challenges is real after a retreat. The withdrawal syndrome is real, even for metta practice, the loving kindness. But just know it's normal, and the more you practice, the more you get that back, and to a point that you don't even lose it anymore. It's really a very, very good deal if you ask me, because you really got nothing to lose for that. The worst case is you are just back to before. You're not going to become a worse person or like less happy person, right? So anyway, that's what I want to share. Then I will talk about my journey. But I've been talking a lot, so taking a break. I really want to know if I can do a break in this live stream. Okay. I don't see it. Maybe I'll figure it out later. Sorry, you have to watch me drink the water, but I'll add a chapter where you can jump ahead when I start talking about my journey. You can take the time as a mindful practice if you want. And notice how our mind always wants a goal. If suddenly I'm not talking, and you will think about another goal you want to achieve, you immediately need to do something, right? Or you can simply be. Or meditate on boo boo. A 360 view. Okay, I'm back. So believe it or not, I'm an introvert. I think that's what they call social introvert. Because I'm also very outgoing, but I've been talking a lot. It does drain my energy. And I do get excited a lot too. And I generally do talk a lot and I share a lot in real life as well. But then this is what I call burnout out of excitement, which always happens to me. Then I naturally will just get tired, and I recognize that, and then I just come back. I need a break. So I need to be like in stillness and just very peaceful. Although sometimes depends on the conditions, I can power through. Which is why if I go to a conference, oh my God, I need to bring some like cough drops or something because how much I talk. And sometimes I just have trouble going to bed at night because of all the excitement that got accumulated throughout the day at a conference. That's one example that I would quote unquote power through without me, I mean, power through naturally without my, let's say, involvement, because there are people coming to you or whatever, and the conversations are so good, then you can just keep talking and talking. And yeah, anyway, but please be aware of that and see what your body needs, and always pay attention when you need to take a break or take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, right? And actually, last year I went to ICSR ICSR International Conference on ICSR International Conference on Contemplative Research, whatever. It's I think it's ICSR. Anyway, it was in North Carolina. And my third guest on Happiness Buffet podcast, Winston, he was there too. He's a very advanced meditator also, and also a Qigong master. So he told me, I was asking him if he's excited during the conference and does he get burned out afterwards. And I always have this burning out problem if I go to a conference. And he told me he doesn't. He can just, in the morning, he can just hold his qi in, and then he release that when he get back to the hotel room. So throughout the day, he's totally fine. And I tried that. It actually works pretty well. So yeah, then I didn't feel that burnout, and you release and you can just, go to bed right when you need to. Anyway, just a fun anecdote, since this episode is more about me sharing about myself and getting to know each other, so that you can decide if you vibe with my channel or not. Sorry, it's a lot. I know. Too much information, maybe. If you already get bored, maybe you don't vibe with my channel. So that is okay. I wish you all the happiness, and find a channel that you can vibe with, that supports your happiness journey throughout your life. So about my journey, why I do what I do. Let me try to summarize, because I do talk a lot. I grew up in China, and long story short, and I came to the States to do I'm still here in the United States, to do a PhD in computer science at USC in LA, University of Southern California. So the reason I did a PhD was because simply because my family is not rich. Actually, when I was 12 or 13, there was a school trip that they organized that you can study abroad during the summer just as a sampler, only for 2 weeks. I remember I signed up, and I went to Canada. That's the first time I went abroad outside of China. And it was in a little town called Hamilton in Canada. And there was this international school there that we did the classes for a week. Another week we were like doing the touristy stuff in Canada. And I was just shocked Like in China, we are so hardcore in study this and that. We have no breaks, and I mean, we do have 10 or 5 minutes break, but it's just every day is so intense. And since middle school, high school, and college, I was always in boarding school, and the schedule you study from 7 to 10 p.m. which is crazy actually. It's kind of like in the military, but for study. And you don't even get weekends completely off. On Saturday, you go home, and Sunday afternoon, you already come back, right? So it's very brutal. But if everybody was doing it, we were kids, we were fine, sort of. We were just used to that. You get up at 6, and then you start running, really like military. So it's a group running in the playground. You run and breakfast, and then it's the reading out loud study, which is you're reciting either some Chinese task or English test, something that you can read out loud. Now come to think of it, their design is good. You get some physical exercise in the morning, and then you have this reading out loud in case you're sleepy, I guess. It does boost the energy, right? Then it's morning classes. Mid-morning, everybody goes to the playground to do the exact same physical exercise, which actually is very good for your health. It really boosts your energy. I don't know why I'm talking about, but I feel it's really interesting. When I first told my American roommate about it, she was really, really interested in this. Oh, why not? It's my live stream. I'm just gonna share. Yeah, so mid-morning we do that exercise, which the 八段锦 I linked in one of the videos is, along the same lines, right? But our physical exercise is called 广播体操. If you're Chinese, you exactly know what this is. And it's more physical, and you'd even jump more than the 八段锦, the qigong one, which is slower. I might actually find one and drop a link for you to see what it is. There's so many different iterations, many new versions. What I can find is probably not the exact one I did when I was in middle school. I don't know how long ago it was. But anyway, you will get the idea. It's the same thing. Then every kid is doing that at the same time, like in uniform, right? And then it's after mid-morning, another morning lessons, and the lunchtime, and the nap time. Wow, they really actually kind of have a healthy schedule, to be honest. It's just everything is centered around study. And nap time, then you go back to the afternoon classes. But before afternoon classes, it's actually singing time. It's only maybe 10 minutes or so, but you sing together, right? This also like military. They also sing. Oh, even in monks, they chant, right? They chant before they eat too. Anyway, this is interesting because then after nap, it boosts your energy again. Everybody is singing. And then it's afternoon class. And then later afternoon, it's the exercise time again. You're supposed to, but this is a freestyle exercise. You can do whatever you want. This break time is time for you to do exercise and dinner. So then the playground, you see people running or whatever, you can hang out with friends and also get your dinner or take a shower. So that's the time you can do that. If it's a Wednesday, once a week, that's when your parents can visit you and bring you all the delicious food. That's my favorite time of the week. It's a highlight, and we call it 探监日 in Chinese, which is basically, how do you call it? I don't know how you call that in English, but when you visit the prisoner at a scheduled time, that's how we call it in Chinese. It's because it's like we are in this school with the gate, right? And the parents have to wait outside of the gate until a very specific time when the gate is open. Then they come in and bring us the food. And yeah, so that's the time. And then, of course, evening study. And sometimes the teacher will give you some inspirational talks to inspire you. And then you study. And in the evening, I don't believe it's classes anymore. It's always self-study. Oh boy, there's so much homework, and it's basically the homework time, and sometimes one of the teacher of a particular subject is there for you to ask them questions. This happens until 10, and believe it or not, even at 10, sometimes you cannot finish the homework that they have for that day. Oh my God, you might be, this might give you perspective. So in middle school, my grades were really high. It's like always top 1 student, or maybe 2 sometimes, but very, very high in my class. Just to give you the context, I'm like really good student in my grades. And all the homeworks and exams are easy for me. Even for me, I couldn't finish the homework sometimes. And you know what we had to do? Oh, because it's boarding school, and at 10:30 so 10 class ends, the self-study class ends, right? Then 10:30, you go back to your dorm. That's when they lock the door. You have to come back to your dorm. Otherwise, you're going to be locked out. Nobody wants that. So we're always back on time. And I remember it's funny because if you are in a relationship, that's a very precious time because it's also dark. You can hang out with your partner for a little bit and then run to your dorm. Anyway, don't ask me how I know it. But anyway, go back to your dorm and you have time to brush your teeth or whatever. Then lights out maybe at 10:45 or something. And the problem is when it's out, it's really out. And there's like teachers roaming around to see which dorm has lights on. You cannot even light your own lamp. And to see which dorm has people talking, it has to be completely dark and quiet for people to just purely go to sleep. And the problem is, what if you have not finished your homework and you have to hand it in the next day? Oh my gosh, it's so sad. I remember all those times they sell this at the store, even in the school, and you will see how messed up the ecosystem is. There's a thing called the 遮光布 in Chinese, which is just a very dark, like a light blocking sheet. So they sell that so that you can be in your bed and have that sheet on to block your light and have your little lamp and do your homework under that sheet. Imagine if it's summer and super hot, you read something on your homework, then you come out to breathe, then you come back again to do your homework. And sometimes I was so tired, we just want to go to bed, and the whole for example, sometimes it's because it's tired, we want to go to bed, and sometimes it's because it's too hot, we don't want to do this, being under the cover to do the homework anymore, and then the whole dorm would set an alarm. Oh my gosh, it's just fun to do that together with friends. But not think of it, it's so brutal. So anyway, this whole dorm, you may set up an alarm at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning, because that's when the teachers are asleep. They are not roaming around to check the light or talking, right? Then you all got up at the same time to do your homework, then actually on your desk with the actual light without worrying about the teacher. So anyway, I didn't expect to share that, but I find it interesting perspectives. That's how you can also see this is also a condition that builds up in your memory and in certain habits you do, which is another example of why what your personality is not yours. It's not personal, right? It can be shaped by so many different things. So that was that. Middle school, and but in the middle school and high school is the same. College is more chill and freestyle. But anyway, so in middle school, the reason I mentioned middle school is because when I was in middle school, that's when I went to this summer trip in Canada, and that was the study I knew, which I just shared. But in Canada, when you only had even only 1 week of class with the international students in that international school in Hamilton town, oh my God, can you imagine how mind-blowing it is for me, who's someone whose day-to-day schedule is like what I just described? Then I'm like, what? classes are done at 5, and there's no like whatever, all those fixed schedule, and it's just so nice and chill. But what's more important is our studies, all the teacher talking, then we do the hardcore homework like math, chemistry, Chinese, whatever it is. But their classes, I could hardly believe it was classes. It's just like playing, like the quote unquote science class, right? They're trying to use the straws and to see who can make the straw, combine the straws to make it the highest. It's playing. It's a game. It has nothing to do with the classes I took in China. And it's so fun. And another class I still remember is, they give you some materials like cardboard or whatever to make boxes. And maybe there's cotton and other things too, but every group is given this material so that you can build a protective box to put a raw egg in it. And then everybody is gonna see who can protect the egg the best to drop it from a certain height without breaking the egg, right? Oh my God, how can that be a class? It's just so alien to me growing up in China. And then, yeah, I was, and also everything is just so nice. Everybody is so nice. Nobody pushes you to do the homework. So at that time, a seed was planted and I was determined I have to go study abroad. And this is gonna be my life. I just cannot take it anymore to always study like in China. And I was thinking, more importantly for my kids, I want their school life to be more like that, not like what I experienced in China. And this is and I also saw some mixed kids are so cute. At that time, I like, I also want to have mixed kids, which might actually happen. So because my husband is American, so we'll see. You see how these seeds, how they are like even so far away, you forget, but suddenly when conditions arise, you remember this memory. You see how everything is tied together and has nothing to do with you. It's just certain things happen that lead to later things. It's all just a causality. Anyway, so I was determined to do that. But because my family is not rich enough, we couldn't afford studying abroad in high school or college or even master's degree. The tuition is really high for international students because, we make money in Chinese yuan. If you convert that to US dollars, that lose even more value, right? So I applied, but my family could try really hard to get me the tuition for masters. So I applied for both masters and a PhD at the same time because PhD is so difficult to get in. Luckily, I got in. So because I had PhD offers, so I preferred that. I had no intention like, I want to be a scientist, for the world, a great impact. No. It's just because PhD is free. I don't want to give too much burden to my family. So I picked the PhD program because not only the tuition is free, but also they give you stipend every month. So I even get paid. I don't even need family support. I have enough money to support my living as a PhD student in the US. So anyhow, so I came to the States to do a PhD program. And also the reason I picked computer science, at that time, it was 2014. I came here to LA, it's my first city. And at that time, I don't believe computer science, when I picked this major in college in China, it was that hot at all, at least in China. Nobody's like, this is a better major. We did not know. I think at that time, people still think like mechanics or whatever is a better major or material science or whatever to have a job. So computer science was not that hot at all. But because I suddenly remembered my childhood passion, which is computer games, when I was picking the major, I really, really loved playing computer games in elementary school. And because since middle school, I went to boarding school and it's always centered around the study, I just gave up on playing games. I never really played the computer games anymore. not even now. But I just, when I picked the major, that memory came how much I loved playing computer games, and I just picked that major. But little did I know it has nothing to do with computer games. I know very little about it. I actually picked software engineering over computer science. My major technically is called software engineering. I thought it's, more related to games. But anyway, so then that's how I got to the States and did a PhD in computer science at USC. And that's when I would say the true journey of self-growth starts, because that was the worst time, the darkest time of my life. And as you know, that's actually when transformation happens, or at least that's when that triggers motivation for you to seek for happiness, right? If you're fine, then you're fine. Why would you be motivated to want to be happier, right? So another quick break this time. Almost 1.5 hours. It's okay. It's my live stream. I rule. Intermission time. Okay, so wow, I didn't even want to think about it. It feels so far away and so foreign. But so I came to a PhD program. As I said, I simply did it because it's free. And I had no expectations. I have no idea what a PhD program is, which I should probably make a video about that too, because you should know what you're getting into. So I certainly did not do it for status or whatever. I did not want to be a professor, like none of these things, right? But if you do have a goal and you do want to become a professor or whatever, you should know what you're getting into in a PhD program. It's very, very different from whatever you're used to in your coursework and study. Everything is so different. And you may or may not like it. Some people would really love it. I hated it until the end. I really loved it and see all the value of it. But anyhow, so in the PhD program, then you are actually surrounded by top A players all around the world. And because USC is actually a pretty good school, right? And to be honest, I was also a very top student too. So except for in high school, I didn't have very good grades, but for the rest of my life, I was always like top 1 or top 2. Which actually it's another fun story why without a very high grade in high school, I got into such a top university in China, Harbin Institute of Technology. It's a very interesting, and now come to think of it, it's a very spiritual story too. That's when I got first introduced to Law of Attraction, which is the secret book by Rhonda Barron. I read it in high school when I was very desperate because I didn't have good grades to go to a good college in China. But somehow, long story short, I ended up at a super top school in China. If people are interested, drop me a comment. If someone are interested, I will share that story about law of attraction. I didn't even know it's spiritual at that time, but it's now come to think of it, it's my first encounter of this type of teachings. And then it was on pause for a very long time until the PhD time. Okay, so in college, I got into very good school in China. And I also had very good grades. So like very good student. Telling you this is to give you the perspective that I was always kind of respected, right? Which, by the way, I want to share one thing in China. If you have good grades, you are so respected. It's so funny. Even if you are not good looking or whatever, you can always get a girlfriend or boyfriend if you have a good grades. Isn't that interesting? Because when I talk to my husband, it's not the case here. If you study too hard, people might think you are uncool. But in China, if you study hard and you have very good grades, you are very cool. Seriously, I cannot tell you how many guys they are really not good looking, but they somehow always can end up with a pretty girlfriend because their grades are really high. Because in China, they rank you for everything. So they literally give you the ranking of everybody for each exam for the entire school, and they put it out. So you know who are the top A players, right? So that's also how, like, not just I know my grades are high, but that's also how I always have a boyfriend too. So also other people know your grades is high too, because everybody know who are the top players. So I'm sharing this because that's what I'm used to. Then suddenly coming to the States, I was just like thrown down to the ground, tossed into the trash. Like I was just shit. That's how I feel. And this huge gap is just unbelievable. Trust me, because from here to suddenly, oh my God, I'm just a shit. That was so mind-blowing to me and caused so much self-hatred, self-doubt, self-loathing. Definitely don't love myself. And I did many bad things that I need to practice forgiveness to really let the past go. I'm not proud of that at all. But if you see the impersonal nature, you also see how due to this lack of self-love, self-confidence, and in such a low place, sometimes you just may not have a good choice and you are not taught all those great teachings. You simply didn't know. You didn't know there's a better way. You may do some very wrong things, okay? And I'm not perfect. I have done very wrong things before as well. So yeah, for people who are in that spot, I really want to tell you, it's possible to get out and you will see a magnificent life await you. And because of that phase you had, it's very necessary to give you perspective to trigger the motivation to pursue the path of happiness. That's why I'm sharing my story. It is very much positive. I'm just so happy to give myself some credibility. Even my husband said I'm the most positive person he's ever met. And you know how people can be positive in public, but public and private life can be very different. Sometimes, like when the more I know someone in private, I sometimes get disappointed because it's very different from their public profile. But even my husband, who sees me every day, he says nobody is as positive as you. So I think that alone can give me some credibility. Why, if you want to be more positive or happy or whatever, I do have something to say. And this is not my personality. I'm not always like this. I have done all the wrong things, whatever, depression, whatever it is you want to call it. I have been there, done that, okay? But just want to tell you, there's a way out if you are taught the methods and practice it. Yeah, really gives me perspective thinking back. So, yeah, that's the darkest time. And because one, I realized I could not speak English. I was so afraid to even call customer service because I simply don't understand anything. Because in China, what we were taught, the English was Chinglish. It's not what people say here. And I simply do not understand and I cannot speak in my group meetings, the lab meetings, and I was looked down on. I feel even bullied a little bit, to be honest. Also, I was the only woman in the lab, which is a really sad situation at that time, because later on I realized a PhD is just plain hard and everybody is struggling in some way. But when I was surrounded by guys who, I don't want to generalize it, I'm just saying in general, man, this can be a bless and a curse, to be honest. Man can feel they need to show the better version of themselves instead of the vulnerability, which sometimes can be a big burden and a curse. I sympathize that, but I just want to say, since I was the only woman, nobody told me this was hard. So I just thought I was the only one struggling. I just thought that everybody else is just doing so well and knows exactly what they're doing, which is not the case for any PhD program. Now I can conclude that. But anyhow, so yeah, English was a big problem. I even had to be accompanied by people to, let's say, apply for credit cards. Just simple errands I could not do by myself in the beginning because my English, which by the way, I spent so long doing my practicing English and took pronunciation class 5 or 6 times. If people want to learn more about English, from couldn't speak to maybe more fluent and whatever, maybe I can also talk about that. Again, drop me a comment. Otherwise, when no condition arises, I just basically don't think much and I'm not gonna do it. So yeah, and not just the English, and I also realized I wasn't trained to do research. Sure, I had one paper that was really easy. By the way, I really admire everybody who gets into PhD program now because the standards are extremely higher than before. And when I applied, luckily my GPA played a big role that they admitted me, but my research experience was not good. I only had one first author paper, not even a top tier. I wasn't taught like all the details about how to do research. So you can consider I do not know how to do research at all. It actually took me like 3 years to learn how to do that. And every time I felt so stupid in any meetings, just I couldn't understand and I don't get it, So, and at the same time, as someone who always had a good GPA, I remember for the first midterm of the first semester of the class that my advisor was teaching, I got 36 out of 100. See, I still remember that. That's how traumatized I was. But luckily, through very hard regrading, I somehow got a good grade in the end. But I still remember. But the average was 50 something, just to give you a perspective. But still, I was lower even than average, right? For someone who always had a good grade, it was just tragic. For me, like everything is shattered. I was just a pure shit is how I felt for a very long time. For people who feel this way or have gone there, it even has physical sensations, like you literally feel something is stuck here in your heart. You can feel it. I don't know if you know what I mean. That is, yeah, I feel that. You just feel the block and everything is just not great. So that was a period, but luckily my family is supportive. So what helped me got through there was they say, okay, just quit. So like, what's better than having you coming home to us? Worst case, we'll find you just a chill job somewhere, not much money, not even computer science, but you can always find a job. I don't know, barista, whatever, in China, that's fine. So just knowing the worst case scenario, I decided, okay, because I can always quit, why don't I just try it for 1 year? If it's not working, I'll quit. But knowing you accept the worst case scenario, then that's when I work really hard. Because if you say I'm going to quit, but I didn't even try the hardest, I don't think I should quit, right? I feel, at that time, I feel that just not a good experiment, because how can you say PhD is not for you if you didn't even try? So I tried really hard, including my English and everything. So anyhow, things are getting better, and I started having my first paper submitted at the end of my third year, which is very, very late compared to other PhD students. And then I was working really hard. And after the first paper, the switch is on for research. I just know how to do. I even became the rising star and have many papers out in top tier conferences, doing really well. Like my advisor even said, like I would be like hot take for the job market for a tenure track professor position. I even won like Microsoft research grant, which is super competitive. So you're considered like Microsoft research fellow or whatever. Just all those glory, right? So, but here's the fun part. In research, it was never easy. And at that time, my English is no longer an issue too. But still, it was like when I get harsh criticism, like my mental state is not very good. I still get bothered a lot by all of that. I still have lots of self-doubt and low self-esteem. Although with external quote-unquote approval, such as the papers, you do feel a lot better at that time. But somehow deep down, it's still not completely, confident or whatever. And what is the wake-up call is I remember one time, which we always pull all-nighters for submitting a paper. So after done this a few times, there was one time I remember specifically that I was pulling another all-nighter because the deadline is always AOE anywhere on Earth. And the all-nighter, it has to happen because that is like 5 a.m. For LA local time. So we always submit at 4 or something before the deadline. I was doing the all-nighter. But that time, what my advisor told me to change or to fix or whatever, the comments was way too much to do than what I could even calmly do it. It just seems impossible. But still, actually, I don't know, at that time, maybe because due to self-confidence, I never dared to even question, should we submit? I never dared to even ask, we probably should give up and try another deadline. I was always afraid just to do whatever my advisor told me to do. But that time, I think it was way too much. I was literally crying almost every 10 minutes or so, like while typing the paper in LaTeX. And my boyfriend at the time was there, and I came to him like so often just for some mental support. And he got me this very big cold brew, and all my food was Soylent. If you know what that is, it's just you can drinky food, like you can just drink it, kind of like a smoothie, but can use it as a food simply because I don't have time. So what's on my desk is my computer, big cold brew, Soylent, and Kleenex, because I was crying so much and I have running nose. That's the three things. It was such a tragic experience, and eventually finished everything, submitted the paper. I think that because we quote unquote successfully submitted, that actually means more to me as a wake-up call because, hey, look, all your struggle was paid off. You successfully submitted this paper. But why I do not feel any accomplishment at all? I was just so traumatized through that experience, and I was just depressed after submitting the paper, low in energy. On top of that, what makes it clear as a wake-up call to me is after this successful, quote-unquote, successful submission, that's when I got the MSR Fellowship, which is this huge award that's very prestigious to get. I got that. Everybody was congratulating me, and we went to dinner to celebrate. Oh my God, I was like, I'm not happy at all. Yes, it's a big award. Yes, people are congratulating me. Actually, I used to think of those fellows like Google fellow, MSR fellow as God. I like really look up them. Like, you can also see them in the website, right? But when it's me, I feel nothing, and I just am not happy at all. That's when I realized how much traumatized I was after that, crying paper writing experience. So since then, I was determined to treat mental health as my top priority no matter what. At some point, you got to make that decision, and that simple intention is what leads to a very different life. So, but if you don't suffer enough, you're not pushed really, really low, you will not make that decision because there's full of distractions in this world. We want to make more money. We want to be more known, better reputation, impact, more approval, or better relationship, a nicer car, a house, whatever it is, right? But it's when you're pushed so low, you have no choice but to make happiness your top one priority above everything else. So anyhow, so from there, I'm treating myself as a subject of a happiness experiment to see what works for me. So I read many happiness self-help books and I took many classes. I think there's also one called Sarah called The Science of Well-being or The Science of Happiness. I forgot. I can also share a link of that. And also there's the mindfulness classes. We have Mindful USC, which I highly recommend their classes. It might be open to non-USC students as well. I'll drop a link. So Mindful USC teaches the mindfulness and self-compassion and the sleep classes, mindful writing or whatever. I took so many of their classes. Actually, in my PhD, what kept me going is, although my research can cause so much stress for me, but at least one thing I did really well is I took more than 20 non-computer science classes that at least takes my minds off and give me some little joy in my darkness of my life, which were really, really good. So all these classes are really good. Not just mindfulness classes, there's also piano and dance class I took, and also pronunciation class. The teacher, Barry Griner, is really such an amazing teacher. We feel so much love from him. And that's also one of the reasons I keep taking the pronunciation class. So yeah, so I took so many and public speaking and all those ones. But anyhow, so that was the time that I realized, I really need to find a way out. I tried all of these classes, and also I tried the mental health service at the school, the therapy session, right? So I remember there was 1 week I just simply couldn't do anything. That's when I realized my behavior is really like I cannot do anything. As a PhD student, I have a deadline, very immediate deadline coming. I need to work on so many things, but my mind is just overwhelmed and completely got into resistance, could not do anything at all for a whole week. And then I'm like, wow, this is not okay. So that's when instead of taking all those classes and reading those books, I feel I need some more professional help. So I went to the USC Mental Health Center for therapy. But so that's when I realized a problem for PhD students is those therapists, they don't understand the unique struggles of a PhD student's life. They just told me, maybe you don't need to submit this paper. And they're like, have you talked to your advisor about his expectation? Maybe you don't need to submit this paper to graduate. But that's really not the case. The thing is, I do want to submit this paper. I know he wants me to submit this paper, but how do I cope with this stress to still achieve the goals I want to achieve, right? So but luckily, I asked if there's anyone who's more experienced with PhD students, and I got introduced to occupational therapy. which worked so well for my situation, that one-on-one session. And I started writing a blog post series about my occupational therapy journey, because that's what, among all these things, that's what worked the best to really change my behavior and get me out of this whole depression or whatever thing, to be more productive and happier to conduct my work. So that there's that. You can read the blog series if you're interested. And then later on, I got into this another fellowship called the Computer Innovation Fellow. At that time, I thought I want to become a tenure track professor. That's actually what people keep saying to me. You can be a great professor, get a very good tenure track job. You're a strong candidate. But please, if you're a PhD student, please know that the voices are very biased. You're surrounded by people in academia, right? Of course, they love their job, or they want to love their job, so they tell you this is the best job ever. But anyhow, yeah, I wanted to become a professor, so I applied for this fellowship, which is a postdoc, which is a transition between you become, after you graduate from your PhD and became a professor. So at that time, I got in and I was a postdoc. But the interesting thing is, throughout my PhD, I also heard about the meditation retreat, which was so interesting. I heard that when I was doing an internship at University College London in UK. I think at that time, mindfulness retreats are more popular in Europe than in the States. And they told me, one is my head massage guy, two is my landlord of the Airbnb I rented. Both of them told me how life-changing a 10-day meditation retreat was for them. So I always have that in the back of my mind as a gift for myself when I graduate from my PhD. So because, as I mentioned, in my PhD, I was really low in self-confidence. I never dared to ask anything. I wouldn't think it's possible to ask for permission to go to a retreat for 10 days without my phone, without replying to emails. The expectation is always sort of immediate reply, even on weekends and holidays. So yeah, anyhow, so after I got a fellowship and defended my PhD, I signed up for this meditation retreat. Like, finally, I got my PhD degree. I have a say. I need to do this. Finally, I can. I have a good excuse. And but that was during pandemic, so it was conducted online. I think it's 2020 December is my first online retreat. It's a metta retreat, loving kindness from Dhammasukha. And you can see my experience in another video about the meditation retreat that I shared. But long story short, after the online retreat, that's when I realized, wow, everything I have learned is simply scratching the surface, and they wear off a lot sooner than the meditation retreat I did. I was determined, oh my God, this is something that worked so much better than all these other things. I have to check it out in person at this center to see what this is about. If online retreat can get me that far and that happy, which, by the way, is also the first time I experience unconditional happiness. Like, you know how happiness happen with a reason, like when you, let's say, get your paper accepted or you win a lottery or whatever. That actually is not good happiness, because lottery winners are shown to actually become miserable later on. But anyway, or nice weather, whatever it is, happiness can be conditioned based on certain reasons. But the first retreat I had was the first time I experienced unconditional happiness for no reason. And you can just sit there, wow, so happy. Like you want to cry. Like, how can one be so happy, right? So I have to go. At that time, I imagine this. At that time, I already tried so many happiness tools out there that I can find, like books, courses, or whatever, right? And practices, including different therapies. But that one was just so top notch that totally drove my curiosity to the highest. Then the next year, I went there in person at the 10-day silent meditation retreat. And that's when it happened. Let's say the breakthrough. The first retreat is also when I realized I no longer have trouble sitting long anymore. And, there's like tears or whatever. Let's just call it a breakthrough, a fundamental change that you can never revert back at the first in-person retreat. So since then, I'm determined this is my top one priority. I will have to go every year because now I know it's possible, right? And also remember the previous condition I had, which is I already set an intention that I'm prioritizing my mental health over anything else. That gave rise to this decision. Okay, this thing is so deep and so profound, works so well. I have to treat it as my top one priority. And then I went to the rest is history, which I will share more and more about the meditation retreat later. But that's not a short rundown of my journey. And as you can see, now I have no problem with self-confidence. I'm so comfortable. Even, for example, this live stream, nobody shows up now, and I'm not defeated. I'm fine. The change is so huge that I don't have a choice. It's not personal choice. I simply do not have a choice but to share this with other people. I just want you to see. And if you have a similar experience where you're burnt out or low in self-confidence or very difficult to handle harsh criticism, which is my biggest weakness. It always feels personal. I'm just a shit. I'm just a piece of shit, right? If you have those type of mentality, this can help for sure. Or if you have very, very busy schedule, like you are a high achiever type, this also can help because that was also what I was. I'm still quite a high achiever type, although I'm not tied to the outcome of the goal. I do a lot of things, actually. I couldn't even summarize. Yeah, it's just because things arise, then I'm okay. Then I do it if I like to do it. And some things became very big, quote unquote, like Africa initiative or whatever. But it was never my intention. I just thought, okay, that sounds good. Let's do it. Yeah. So, but you're not attached to the outcome. Failure or success, it's all fine. Even, for example, this Meditate With Me series, failure or success, who's to say failure or success, right? Just a concept. What does it even mean? But anyway, I really wish you happy and experience this profound peace. And that is why I'm teaching this, because I think there's just so much to it, and it's so deep, and it can drive fundamental changes. And in retrospect, I think all those mindfulness classes I took at USC paid off. That's why my first retreat, I was able to, let's say, see fruit, right, in the very first retreat, because I already learned self-compassion. I was generally a kind and a good person. That is, this loving kindness is really the foundation for you to have a good retreat experience and the breakthrough. Oh, I should share another blog about, it's called How I Sit for 8 Hours in Meditation. But the reason I want to share it with you is to see the conclusions in retrospect, what worked well. I think that can help people to prepare their mindset for the first retreat. But don't expect a breakthrough. That's the trick, right? So the reason I want to share that is because my first retreat, I went there to see this happiness tool, why it works so well. And also because I'm simply tired with my busy life. I just want people to take my laptop away. I don't want to reply to emails because I want an excuse to unplug. And I went there just to observe for myself as an experiment, as a scientist, to see how this works. I did not know anything about awakening or enlightenment, liberation, Buddhism, or Dharma. Actually, funny, The first time I went to Dhammasukha for the retreat, the first online retreat I signed up, it's just because someone who's been to many retreats told me this one is the best. And I didn't even know it was a Buddhism retreat. I literally know nothing about Buddhism. And then, okay, they are also teaching what the Buddha taught, right? But remaining open-mindedness instead of treating it as a religion, my lens was, okay, how does this help with my happiness? Anything goes. I don't care which religion it is or whatever, right? Because just like each book or each author can also be its own religion too, right? I don't care. I just take, be diversifying and take whatever it is and see what works for me. So that retreat was really a great experience. And now I just really have nothing better to do. I really want more people to know this is possible and experience it for themselves and see if you want to be happy. And this is really the most fun journey ever for me, at least. Yeah, I guess that's enough for today, which is a grand finale because, I'm sharing so much. Let's see if anything resonates with you, if you feel it's relatable. Oh, which, by the way, in my very first in-person retreat at Dhammasukha, I realized many retreaters are very hardcore. They are like striving for the goal and really want to attain enlightenment or something, right? And they go to many, many retreats. And for me, for my very first retreat, somehow I had this idea. I'm not like that. I decided to restrict myself to one retreat every year, no matter how much I want to attain whatever it is, enlightenment or whatever, because I see later on I probably will really want to attain all of these things, right? It's just a natural process. But I'm treating myself as an experiment for happiness, as a human subject. You remember, that was my very first intention to start this whole thing. So to be a normal person, and you need to control your environment. I want to see how much can a normal person go on this path instead of becoming a monk. Although, yes, I had a period where I want to become a monk. I can share all about all those different phases I went through. But at the end of the day, I just remember why I started this journey is to really observe and see how happy can I be as a normal person. So anything I do, if a normal person cannot do, I don't do it, such as 1 year of a retreat or even 1 month of a retreat. So since my first retreat, I decided I'll only go every year for once to the retreat, just 10 days. If people really want to prioritize happiness, come on, you can take 10 days off as vacation days, right? But not a month. That's not realistic. So that's why I did that. As much as I want to go to more retreats, I do not do that, just so that I can control the environment for my experiment. And it works, right? Just look at me, how normal it is. Everything is normal. And you can achieve such profound unconditional happiness just as a normal person. You don't need to, go to India or go to Tibet. Actually, I've never been to India or Tibet. So yeah, just be a normal person. Even practicing at home, you will see tangible results. All right, that was a lot for today. I hope that gives you some ideas to see if you vibe with this and want to hear more about the teaching or my journey or all the challenges I faced and how I overcame. There's a lot, and it's okay. It's comparing to what suffering I had before this whole journey, all the challenges are nothing, to be honest, because it's everything is so mental. Without this mindfulness practice, it's so big in your head. It can be because with mindfulness, you're more detached from it, right? Then it just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. But before, when you were never given this concept, it's all in your head. It's huge. And that's the only thing. It became so huge and it's immense suffering. Before, that's what I had. And you may have even physical feelings like stuck or blockage that I really felt that in my chest during my PhD for some period of time. So anyway, I hope you found something useful, and let me know. There's just so much I can share. Let me know what might work for you, and maybe what challenges you face that we can talk about. It's likely to be a challenge I faced before as well. So, oh, and we will also get diverse opinions and perspectives from more people. So don't take any words at face value that I say. So I will invite more people when I have time for the Happiness Buffet podcast as well. So you can stay tuned. We actually have a very, very good lineup. It's just when my schedule allows, we will do more and more podcasts. You can be looking forward to that as well. All right, this is a small closure for the first season of Meditate With Me series. I hope you at least got something out of it and can have something that you can take home or practice over and over again for a certain theme that you like. Yeah, eventually it's all up to you and see what works for you. And in the end, let's do this together to come back. And feel the gratitude for being alive and the freshness of this moment. And feel grateful for yourself for sticking to this beautiful journey all the way until the end. Oh, as a token of gratitude, you can see Boo Boo again. Boo Boo is cheering for you on this journey. You can do it! Yes, you can! Yeah! Okay. Your awareness is your best friend. It can teach you so much. I hope you have so much happiness, joy, and peace, and can always hear the voice of your intuition and be guided on this beautiful journey. And remember, it's always available to you 24/7. And this practice is really a 24/7 practice that you can take in your life. It's not just what you do on the cushion. At the end of the day, it's really what you do in your real life. Be a loving and kind person can take you so far away on this path. Even if you don't meditate, just by being loving and kind, you will see the end results as well, how much happier you will feel. It's just that simple. It's a natural process. So please remember that. So that's always your strong base and foundation, metta. And as I mentioned in the previous video, metta automatically leads to the compassion and the mudita, which is sympathetic joy, and equanimity, which is like the inner peace. It's an automatic process, so you can just simplify it by only remember to have metta with you, because it's automatic. Just do one thing, it does everything. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on this journey. May metta always be with you, and I love you all. See you next time, maybe. Bye.